Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Love season is here and I'm excited to bring you amazing couples. They're going to be sharing their love stories and we shall hopefully learn something, one or two things, and maybe you'll be inspired and we're going to get that love bug going. I can't wait for you to meet them. This video is brought to you by Can We Talk? Now, if you know me, you know how intentional I am about building a healthy marriage. And one of the things that we incorporate in our marriage is conversation cards. Now, I've had these cards for a while. Steve and I go through them. I had to get a new deck because the other one is really old. So let me just read to you some of the questions that are in here. If you could erase one day in your relationship, which one would it be? That's deep, yeah? It helps you just have intimate conversations, building your emotional intimacy, and you'll be able to talk about, the past, the present, the future. It will get you going. What's your favorite thing about us? I love these cards. How do you think our relationship has changed, has changed us? And especially if you have kids, the relationship goes through some changes. So there are lots of, options in here, lots of conversation starters that you can use to build your marriage. Yeah? Check them out. Look at that. Amazing. You can get them from Can We Talk, www.canwetalk256.com, or check out their Instagram page and you can use the number on the screen to call them and make your order. In 2025, we're not leaving good marriages and relationships to chance. We are putting in the work. Can we talk? On the channel today, we have the Kabalis. Welcome. I'm so excited to get to know you. Thank you for coming. Just share with us maybe who you are, how long you've been married, and then let's get into the gist of the story.
Awesome. I'm going to let my wife go first.
My name is Kristen and Kabali. I am married to Samuel. We have a daughter who's 2.5, I think. I serve with a collective UG, and I also lead a girls' community called Adali.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome. My name is Samuel Kabali. I am many things, but primarily I am a Christian, I'm a believer, and I'm a creative. I run a company called Tonda Animation. We do a bit of discipleship and training there, but mostly we create digital media. But also I serve with the collective UG as a leader in that space, and I'm excited to talk about love.
Amazing. How long have you guys been married?
4 years.
Yeah.
You guys are pushed. 4 years is a long time. So well done. Okay, so we're going to get into some icebreaker questions. Yeah. We're going to do this or that. So you tell me what you prefer. So adventure or comfort?
Adventure or comfort?
Yeah.
Personally, I think if I'm with him, I am drawn more to the comfort side of things. Like, let's just
chill,
relax and have a good time. But if I'm with friends, adventure all the way. Like, we'll rest when we go back home.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me. Like, it's the opposite. Like, I'm naturally just a comfort guy. Like, I would take comfort over any kind of doing things outside.
Yeah.
But when I'm with her, she brings out the adventure in me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And that's a good thing when people come together. They have differences,
Yeah.
You go for vacation and some guys want to just sleep and stay in, and others are like, wake up, activity. Yeah, I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a team player or lone wolf?
So, I'm formally a lone wolf, but is learning to be a team player. Because when I said serving with a collective, I really liked doing things on my own. I felt like things move faster. If I'm doing this thing, I have my thought process in my mind. I know what time I want to do it. Now when I'm leading people, it's like, it was always like, my gosh, now I have to move at their pace, what?
Everyone.
But being in that space and learning to, lead people and help them grow, I also grew in the process. And now I have seen the benefit of leading a team or being part of a team. It's so much easier.
What about you, Samuel? Do you prefer to do things solo or together?
Together.
I like that. Well, it's much of the same for me. I've always been a lone wolf. I think it's a thing that the people of my profession struggle with as a creative. You want to do things your way. So I'm learning how to be a team player. Of course, in marriage, there's no option. You have to be a team player. And so for the last 4 years, I think I'm doing well in doing this team player thing. I'm not sure what my wife thinks about that, but yeah,
He's right.
Yeah, I'm learning how to be a team player.
Amazing. Okay, the final one. If you had to describe each other in one word, what would it be and why?
This time you go first.
Yeah. You may put your answer.
One word for Kristen. I would say explosive. Like she brings life to any room she's in a positive way. She brings energy to it, positive energy, and it comes with love. It comes with, like, Kristen makes friends on Instagram. I can't make friends with people I haven't met. Kristen actually seeks out people and befriends them and is in their life. Like, when she's in your space, she's in your space. And so explosive is the one I would use.
Explosive.
I should have gone first, yeah.
Pressure.
One word for Samuel would be selfless. I think he's really, really, really selfless. And not just with me. Like, with me, he's extremely selfless. Like, he spoils me. I'm just very useless. But like, yeah, he's really selfless. But even with the people around him, he's willing to go 10 extra miles for the people in his life. So, yeah.
This is just the start. We're going to get to know more and hear all the beautiful stories. Okay, so share with us, how you met, how this came to be, that beautiful story. Me, I'm excited to know because I see you guys from those ends now. I can't wait to hear. How did you guys meet? What was that like?
So, the ministry we serve with, the Collective UG, that's how we met.
Yeah.
In 2017, the collective had an event called Sold Out Conference, and that's the first time I saw him. I was serving with a team, but I was in the music team then, and then the music team gets on stage, and then there's this new guy. It wasn't like that at first, but I remember my friends asking me, "Who is that? We've never seen him," and I was like, "Well, I don't know." But that's when I first saw him, and we didn't talk much that day. But then fast forward 2018, the ministry is doing book clubs, and we end up in the same book club because there were different book clubs. And that's when we got to know each other, we became friends. In that book club, we're sharing a lot of what do you want to do with your life, what are you passionate about, what has God put on your heart. And I was like, this is interesting, like just listening to him. Yeah. And then when that book club ended, we got asked to lead one together.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, then... then the rest.
I think you can see the weaves that our team leader Nelson
he was
like,
he likes to take
let me do a thing here. But yeah, like that's really how it all started. And like Kristen said, like in those spaces you're sharing a lot of what your dreams are, and so you're like finding out about someone without really like, oh, I like that. We're cheating. And it helped because as we led the second as we led the book club together, we needed to meet and discuss the things that we're going to talk to the rest of the group with, and so we interacted a lot in that way, and it brought us closer together as friends at first, because we were both in very questionable relationship mindsets at the time. We were both out of very weird relationships, and so our mind was not like, let's get together and do this thing. We just wanted to genuinely be friends at the time. And that's what we're doing. We're just learning each other to be friends with each other. And it grew from a friendship into a relationship.
Wow, you guys, you see, the problem with you is that you're not serving in ministry. You're not in book club, so now you're missing. I love it.
Yeah.
So why her? Like, what about her, stood out and said, this is that
Opportunity to vibe you. Why Kristen?
Yeah.
Kristen, like I said, like the thing that stood out for me is like she's so willing to be friends with people she has just met.
Yeah.
Like it was so wild to me. Like you've just met me. Why are you so friendly with me? You get, and that was attractive to me. But over and above that, she loves Jesus, and I could tell that from the beginning. And I was committed to not going into another relationship blindly.
Yeah.
I wanted the foundation of the next relationship I go into to be on Jesus, on a Christian foundation. And so the Jesus in her was attractive to me. Of course, everything else, as you can see, was quite attractive, but I could see her heart and her passion through the exterior. And that for me was more attractive than anything else. Of course, her personality helped. That was the icing on the cake. And she's, of course, easy on the eye. But yeah, that's why Kristen. Yeah.
Anyway, he was not confusing me. I did feel confused. Like there was so much clarity. Like we were friends, and there's a way he communicated. He's really big on communication to this day, but he communicated so well, didn't leave room for what's going on, confusion. And even when he was ready to take it the next step, there was absolutely no confusion. Like he literally looked me in the eye.
Yeah.
Looked me in the eye, went down on his knee, and asked me to be his girlfriend. Like there was no of what are we doing. I didn't have to ask what are we. And for me that clarity was nice. Like just to know what I'm getting myself into. And his relationship with God, I felt like it helped me get closer to God as well. He helped me grow in my relationship. He pushed me, encouraged me. And for me, more than the tall, dark, handsome, etc., I really wanted someone who could lead me spiritually, who could help my relationship with God and not pull me away. And he was doing just that. So,
Beautiful.
I think going out of a relationship where that aspect of things, everything she has described, was lacking, you don't want to repeat the same things. And so, exactly. And so I know I might have led on too strong with the communication, but it's because I wanted, as I said, the foundation of whichever relationship I would get into next to be firm, especially with communication and with belief. And so that's why I led with that from the word go. And apparently it helped. So.
That's nice. So 4 years. How has it been? Tell us everything. How is marriage?
Wow.
Marriage it's a journey, but it's beautiful. It's like, I like to say it's like an endless sleepover with your best friend, and like, because it's your best friend doesn't mean it's void of like clashing here and there, but I mean, they're your bestie. You figure it out as you go. You spend a lot of time with each other. I remember when we were dating, he would drop me home, and my parents live far. They don't live very near, but he would drop me home in the evenings, and we used to say, I can't wait for the time when we don't have to drop like an because we really enjoy each other's company. We would prefer to just be together all the time. So it has been really nice, but also watching each other grow and evolve as a person. Like, it's not possible to say you know someone 100% and that's it, you're finished, because people are always growing and changing and evolving, learning and learning. So it has been interesting to watch ourselves learn and unlearn things. It has been, it's also been a bit of work. There's a lot of intentionality that it takes to build a good relationship and, you know, make it work. Yeah. And when parenting enters the chat, it can shake things a bit. But at least I'm glad that we had the foundation of friendship. I think it has saved us quite a bit, but mostly just Jesus. Because I trust that he has a relationship with God and he's hearing from God and he's relying on him. So I can take it to my father, who's also his father. But also, it's, I would say, easier to submit to him. Like, you know what? I trust that he's here talking to God and hearing from him. So let's go. If you say we go this side, let's go. So I think if it wasn't for Jesus and us actually being friends, it could be
very
harder.
colorful. And like learning and unlearning. That's the highlight for me for the last 4 years, because it's very easy to come with your own expectations and your rigid self into a marriage and just cause conflict constantly. But when you are teachable, when you're willing to learn and unlearn certain things, I think that's what makes marriage beautiful. And it's beautiful to see not just your partner, but you yourself grow. Because I'm not the same person I was when I got married, in what I believe, in how I relate with other people. Like I said, I was a proper lone wolf. She found me as a proper lone wolf. But now I'm discipling people, I'm leading teams, I'm doing marriage. And all these things are things I never saw myself do. Even parenting, like these were dreams I had 5, 6, 7 years ago that looked so far away from me. And now looking back in the last 4 years and seeing them all come to reality, it's just a testament to what God can do with a heart that is ready to learn and unlearn. And so for me, that's the highlight. Just the things I've been able to learn and the things I've been able to let go of, for God to take me and make me who he wants me to be, make us what he wants us to be. That's been my highlights.
You know, when you talk about it takes work, you know, can you share with us some of the things that you've had to do to make that marriage? You know, because you think, oh yeah, you love each other, oh, you've seen her, oh, then things are going to be fine. You know, what are some of the things that you've had to do in the marriage?
So, naturally, I'm a very avoidant person, conflict avoidant. That is. You see, when you're extroverted, it's easy for people to think. But like the moment like a conflict comes, my default is just let's leave it. I'll go deal with my emotions and come back when I'm okay. And I learned very quickly that that's not good for a marriage. You have to talk about it. Now, on the other hand, he is, I don't know what the opposite of avoidant is, but he will go head on immediately.
No, like, we must talk about it.
And like, I'd be like, first relax. Or he won't sleep. He'll be like, we need to talk about it now. I'd be like, I need some hours to simmer and, you know. So getting that balance between him also first allowing me some room to breathe, but also me not letting it marinate. That has taken quite a bit of effort and taken a lot of communication. So he had to be like, you know, if you don't feel like talking right now, you have to say that, okay, I'm not happy, but I don't feel like talking about it. Then you have to come and talk about it after. And I'll be like, you know, those things of you just want to keep quiet.
Just keep quiet. Just see that I'm not quiet.
Ask me what's wrong like some 50 times, then I'll tell you at like 51. Like
I tell doesn't ask, I guess there'll be a problem.
Exactly, because for you are not asking. So I had to unlearn that really quickly, and I think I'm doing better now.
Yeah, you are. She's doing much better.
Yeah, so now we talk more. We really talk. We really talk. We really talk. But that has been quite helpful because we don't exactly like fight. Because I realized the whole how it gets into a fight is all these unresolved things. But if something comes up and it's really on your heart and you talk about it, normally like adults, like friends, talk about it and leave. Everyone is okay. You never have to get into a point where you have to raise your voice or where you've gone 3 days without talking. So it has really helped. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I like the Bible. So a lot of what I'm going to say is from the Bible. But the thing for me that I have had to repent from is dying every day. And it's especially important for the men, for husbands, to die every day, because that's what Jesus did for us, his bride, his church. And so for me, I was used, because I was a lone wolf, I was like, everything is mine to enjoy. And I don't have to think about other people because I'm a lone wolf already. But now in a marriage, I'm not only bringing someone else into my space, which is already uncomfortable, but I have to die to this person, die for this person constantly. Not just once in a while, like, man, I didn't do this thing that time, so that you could do this, that you get. And so for me, that's the thing I have had to deal with, to wrestle with for the last 4 years. Learning how to die every day. In the small things especially. Because it's easy to die to self in the bigger things. Like you're like, let me just, take one for the team. But in the small things, in what it looks like to bring her breakfast every morning.
And he really does.
Like, well. But it's in those little things. And I think it loses a bit of its, its strength when you make it a big deal and try to and you bring it up in a conversation. I feel like it loses some of its power in some of those situations. But for me, that's it. Like dying to myself and making sure that not just my wife but my family is provided for, is happy, and sometimes at the expense of myself. Actually, most times at the expense of myself. Learning how to make that a rhythm every day. That's the thing that I have had to wrestle with. But it helps that as a Christian, you have seen someone go before you and do that already. You've seen Jesus die literally on the cross for you. And when you have Jesus in your perspective, like he has gone before us and done all these things for us, then it's easier for you to die every day for smaller things. It gives you that hope that, this is the person I am emulating. This is the person I am supposed to emulate to my family. And so it makes it much easier for me to do that once I have Jesus in perspective.
I like that. I see two things. I am hearing self-awareness, because you talked about, this is who I am. Like, I don't like this. So when you know yourself, then you know how to either, what's the weakness? How do I strengthen it? Or what's his weakness? Or I know who he is. So I think in marriage, just doing that deep dive on you and knowing, okay, this is what I like, this is what I like, so that you can even communicate it to your person, I think makes it easier. And then you talked about dying to self. It's not about you. I've had to also unlearn things, me, I'm independent, that has to go out the table, or just seeking your own desires. It has to die, because getting someone breakfast every day is not easy. You have to get out of yourself and see, how do I serve Christine? How do I do this for her? So that's what I'm hearing from you guys.
And I think marriage really exposes certain things in us. Before you're married, you sort of think everything is okay, but now having to relate with someone on that level every day in the same bed, same room, every day, it exposes quite a number of things in yourself that even you didn't know were there. And that's where communication really helps. That if you're talking, if the other person has noticed something, it's a space safe enough for them to bring it up without you feeling attacked. Or if also you're realizing, this is thing that I'm noticing. So for your marriage to be a safe space for the other person, that when they bring up something, it's not used against them against them later. I think that's really important, because you also don't want to be having, let's say, an argument a couple of months down the road and like, actually, even last time.
I know.
Yeah, so it has to really be a safe space for that to work, for that self-awareness to come through, or for that good communication. I think good communication cannot thrive when the space is unsafe, because then I feel like everything I say can and will be used against me. So yeah.
And I've seen you guys like on stories sometimes going cocoa out, does that help, for years, to keep it, fiery and exciting?
It helps a lot, especially when you become a parent, because
You need to breathe.
like
outside.
there is some breathing space that's necessary, but also just to just relieve that initial spark that existed, like going somewhere nice, just devoting yourselves to each other again, because it can get hectic with parenting, with ministry, with work. We find ourselves in a week not having time for ourselves. Like we'd need to recently we've had to like just dedicate days, just a day for us to just be with each other, catch up with each other, because we rarely see each other in a week. And so just that extended period of time, just for a couple of days, to just go out, away from everything, to reconnect and touch base again. And I think it's important. It's almost like it's very important for a couple to have that kind of space.
And I don't even think it has to be an expensive venture. There are weeks when we say, okay, my friends know, sometimes most Fridays I say I'm unavailable because we're home. We're not going anywhere, but we're just home, chilling, the two of us. Other times around, we might go play with her a bit, but we're mostly spending time together. And when finances allow, we can go dates or staycations or whatever. Or take her to my mother's and stay in the house and just be the two of us. I think it's really important because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. So many things. Life in this, as a person, is hectic. And now for us who serve together, sometimes people are like, but you guys are always together. But you see, there's being together and not, and like you get, we'll be together in a space here and there, but we have not really like connected. So actually for a while that was us, as if always together but not together. So we had to be intentional. Even if we, as most of the time in the same space, we also need like alone, just the two of us, to put in a little more effort there. So that has really helped.
Love it. And I've seen you guys singing together. You've talked about ministry. I tell my husband, there's another couple in Sale who also sing at church. So every time I see them, I'm like, babe, that could be us.
If only.
I can't sing. So, but it is something.
But you can both dance, not so.
I can dance. You try.
Okay.
You get like it's beautiful, and I see you guys like, wow, that could be us. As you serve together, it shows you have a relationship with God. From what you're talking about, how has faith really helped you in your relationship? Like, can you give like those practical examples? Like, I was even about that. The Holy Spirit just held me and said, "Madam, like how is faith helping you in your relationship?"
Well, for me, I mentioned it earlier. Being able to trust where his heart is. Like I know we're all faulty in one way or the other, but by the grace of God, but knowing that his reliance is on God helps me trust more. I don't want to become FBI
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I'm just like, man, I know who he serves, and I know that he's obedient to God and his word. So it helps me be at peace. Yeah. Also, just having the Holy Spirit just keeps you, like when it's very easy for you to see something small and you want to bring it up all the time, like complain about something. But so many times when the Holy Spirit is like, just keep quiet, child. It's not a big deal. Like, so I feel like the Holy Spirit has helped me to just know which things to let go of. Like it doesn't have to be that serious all that time. Like every small thing. So maybe I can say it has helped me just choose my battles wisely. There are things that are necessary to, and then there are those that are just really irrelevant. Like it won't add anything or remove anything. So for me, God just helps me fight my battles wisely.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to pick at everything he
Yeah.
does, because now if we both did that, it would just become the whole situation.
Yeah.
But also, I think God can really tell you when you're not being a good spouse in that moment. Like maybe you need to be kinder here, or you need to be more. You need to extend more grace. Yeah. Sometimes you can hold your spouse at a very high level, and as if in your head they're not allowed to make mistakes. But if you just come out of yourself a bit and realize they're also a human being and it could easily be you, like it's easy to make mistakes. So sometimes God just helps you realize that you need to extend a little more grace, a little more grace here. So you're like, if I am sorry, you get that kind of, yeah. For me, that's how my relationship with Jesus has really helped me be.
Yeah. And the Bible talks about being unequally yoked with unbelievers. And I think because we are both as committed to this Christian walk as we are, choosing schools for our daughter, like we automatically go to Christian. Do they have Christian principles? What do they believe? And so we're already on the same page with that. And so that's a quick decision to make, where it would be a much more lengthy decision to make with a couple that is unequally yoked. And so for me, the decision making of certain things, just the decision to do ministry, for example, as long as we have that in itself, because of course that there is something you let go of by choosing to do ministry the way we are doing it. Like we don't have 9-to-5 jobs. There's a way money comes in the month that is not predictable. And so that in itself is a decision we made because there is a greater treasure that we saw in serving God that is eternal, that's not just for now. And so those kinds of decisions where if you are someone who was with not a person who's not a Christian, they would be right?
Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean you don't have a job? You get it? And so I feel like those kinds of decisions are easier to make when we're both on the same page. And yeah, for me that's been the biggest advantage of being devoted to this Christian walk as we are. That's been the biggest advantage for me. Like the decision making is so easy sometimes.
And what have been the challenges you faced? Like 4 years, what are those challenges where you're like, I didn't expect this, I never expected it. I didn't see this coming, what are those challenges? And you talked about the motherhood and new parenting.
Yeah.
So before I have a very unserious one.
Everything is serious.
Do you know what it means to be tired and you come home to speak English? Like, so we're not of the same tribe, yeah. And I never thought of it as a thing, but like I said, it's very unserious. But like coming home to speak English when you're tired, just like I need to speak my mother tongue a little bit.
Yeah,
that's very unserious though. But I think one of our biggest hurdles was when we became parents. It was no one prepared us.
No one.
I feel like someone should have sat us down and specifically said, this is how it's going to be. I feel like it hit me like a storm. There's a lot of postpartum everything going on, I wasn't sleeping. Somehow not sleeping also just destabilizes you completely. I was not sleeping. I felt like the only energy I had in me was just keep this human being alive. Like
everything else, please.
everything else
Will be
could take
fine.
a back seat at that point. Even me myself, like like it was such hurdle, and I didn't think about how that affected him at that time. Because for me, I was just trying to survive and stay afloat. Yeah. And because at first I was at my mom's, and he would come every other day. He would come every other day and spend the night. But eventually, when I go home, is when I realized he actually shared how he feels like he has really been neglected and abandoned. I was just like,
You're like, please, really?
it happened. Even me, I feel abandoned, like by myself.
Yeah.
It was such a hard. I feel like I don't have it in me to keep this child. And my kid had colic. She was crying for hours on end. It was just chaotic. So I was like, this adult can be fine. At least for me, in my head, I just feel like the adult can be fine. And it took a lot of work to. Of course, he extended so much grace. He extended so much grace and gave me time. But I appreciated that he communicated it, because if he had never said it, I don't even know if I'd ever come out of it. I feel like it could have been easy for it to just become a new normal, where it's all about. So we had to figure out, okay, now what do we do? How do we do us, but also, this new person in our lives that's not going anywhere. So I put in some effort. Sometimes the time my mom came, she just said, go out with your husband. Go, come back whenever you want. I'll be with her the whole day. I'll spend the night with her. And just so we went and spent time together. And somehow I actually felt better when I got out and away from her and whatnot. But I think that was like the biggest, because I knew we were friends. So I had this thing of, we'll be fine. But but the moment we stopped putting in some effort, it started to get a little shaky. But thank God we eventually found a new balance.
SEMA was a real hurdle. For me though, the financial one was the biggest challenge, money. So when you're single, like especially a guy, like you can survive on 10, 20K a week. But now all of a sudden, not only do you have another adult human being in your space, in your house that you're responsible for, but you have a child. And at the same time, there is a level of commitment you have towards serving God that may not allow for something as predictable as a 9-to-5 job. And you have to pick one of the two. And so for me, that was the hardest decision, to trust God that where He's leading me will also come with the treasure that He has promised me. So that is, I can't say that it's a hurdle that we have overcome yet.
Process.
We are in the process of, but I am seeing God in a way that I would have never seen Him if I had chosen the safe route. If I had chosen to either get a 9-to-5 job with predictable income. I'm seeing God in my life in a way that can only be seen when you choose life in the faith lane. And with money, it's a constant battle. It's a daily battle with your heart, with your mind, because you're like, man, why can't I just, like, should I just chill? Should I just go the safe route? But then every time you read the word and God is challenging you to remain faithful to what He has called you to do, because He promises that's where His provision is. And so for me, the last 4 years has been constant faith that, yes, there are seasons that come that are challenging financially for us. And we talk about it. We talk about, man, it's tight this month. What do we do? How do we adjust? Which helps with the communication and, and she also is invited into that space so that it's not just me. For a while, the first few years, it was just me dealing with this weight.
Like, let me take it on.
And she expressed, like, she could see it in me. I had like health issues and and on top of that, she felt left out of the whole process. And so I had to unlearn that as well and involve her and invite her into my space, into my what's going on in my head, the thoughts I'm having, and she has really helped. She has made me less anxious about, man, what is she thinking? Man, she married this broke guy who's meshing. But at the same time, we have seen God bring us together, and we have seen Him provide for us over the years in ways we can't explain. Like it's I would never, if you told me that 4 years in I would have almost a 3-year-old toddler with a wife with no 9 to 5, I would laugh at you and tell you I don't know what you're smoking, but I don't want it. So I've seen God move because of our continued obedience in what He has called us to do, especially financially, when before it was impossible to see. So for me, financially, that's where the most
and you
challenge
appreciate
has come.
how there are factors. Before we got married, we were working with a certain couple, an older couple that we worked together for about a year before we got married. We had so many conversations because they had a book like this big. Yeah. We talked about too many things. But one of the things that stayed with me was when they were talking about the factors that can affect relationship. So we're talking about, I think, expectations and how like the way someone has been brought up can create certain expectations in their mind, down to the small things of me in my home, my father is the one who looked up. Yeah. And then him in his home, the mom is the one who looked up. So when you go to bed, you're just like, who is looking up? Because it's not me. So down to the small things. But then I started to notice it when we were going through this issue. Because now, I didn't exactly grow up in a wealthy family or anything. We really survived on little, but we're so happy, we're at peace, we're good. They were a lot more comfortable. So so that was, I think that's why his mind, in terms of standard, what to expect for yourself, that's why his mind was at. So his blood pressure is high and just like, but we are comfortable. We have a roof over our heads. We have never slept hungry. We have means of transport. Like, for me, I never understood why he was stressed. And he hadn't yet shared that, and me, it just didn't make sense. I was like, for you, every day, you're stressed. But did you eat today? Are you sleeping? But just trying to understand him. Like, okay, maybe for him, his expectations were somewhere, and mine maybe a little less than that. So we had to meet each other halfway. And this is not to say we don't have ambitions or goals or whatever, but learning contentment is really important, because you don't know how life will play out and you don't know what God's will is. But like he has said, there's a growth in God that has come from us, from that complete reliance on Him, because of, and we're not advocating for people to quit their jobs.
By the way, we're not saying quit your jobs, and
unless you feel that's what God is telling you to do, please don't do it. But as we have learned that where God leads, He provides. So, and we are big on like purpose because of the ministry we serve with, and he does Tonda, and that's work. He does work for clients and whatnot, and the money comes in when it comes in. I serve with a collective, and I'm on like the staff team. Like, no, I need money, but God has made it very clear that that's not where He wants, at least now, that's not where He wants me to be. So that reliance on Him, where I'm not assured of 7 sources of income, has really gotten us closer to Him. And I just wanted to say that we're not encouraging people to quit their jobs.
Please continue working. Seek God about that before.
It's a good thing to work. Make that decision. Yeah, but I wanted to point out how expectations also come at play in a background. The background creates a lot of expectations. Yeah, small, and it shapes small things. Small things like who goes to the market, like tiny small things. And that's why unlearning is important also, because you don't have to do everything the way your parents did. You have to find something that works for the both of you. So if how it happened ends up being what works for you now, well and good. But if it's not, I don't think you don't have to fight over it. Like we just find a new norm, a new rhythm.
And I love some of what you said about, as a man, sometimes men keep things, I will do it, I will manage. And then Ashik is like, I want to help you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Like
But I
you
do
told
not
me.
know,
Exactly.
It takes a lot for men to just, speak and say, you know what, this
Yeah.
thing is weighing me down. Maybe how can I involve you? Because sometimes they're thinking, I don't want you to now get worried. It's also not giving her now.
No.
So sometimes they're trying to protect, but then, so I really love that you actually, because if you don't communicate, then she wouldn't know.
Yeah. And it doesn't make you less of a man. I think that's the thing most guys are scared of. They're like, man, how will I look trying to ask for help financially, especially from my wife? It doesn't make you any less of a man. It's more healthy for your marriage than it is destructive. And so when you lean into the things that are healthy for your marriage and put your pride aside and be humble, your marriage grows, your character grows, you become a more well-rounded Christian human being, letting go of these things that society and family and the world have imposed on masculinity. So it's again one of the things you need to continuously unlearn as you're going through marriage. And marriage, it refines you. It's like a fire that burns away all the random things in your character and leaves you pure eventually. So if you do it, if you allow it to, because you can resist the things that marriage is trying to bring out of you, and you'll kill it. But if you lean into them and allow them to change and mold your character, they will be beneficial to you and to the marriages.
And I keep saying, identity, for men, where does your identity come from?
Yeah.
Is it the money you're making?
Yeah.
Is it the what? All this ego, what is God saying? Who are you?
Exactly.
True.
Really, so and as you're doing ministry, I believe, I'm thinking you have a community. How does that play out in marriage in helping you? Challenges. Sometimes we're facing challenges, and we feel we're the only ones who made like 10 other guys have faced it. How are you involving community in your work?
So we're part of a couples fellowship. Now, in the beginning, Mr. Man's over here.
Oh wow.
Was like, what's that for, man? Like, it's not necessary. But you see, he's quite introverted, so he has evolved now. But when we had just gotten married, he's such a loner, like he had mentioned. So he didn't feel like stuff was necessary. But me growing up in church and just seeing how you go through the different levels of fellowships, like at all sense, every level you have a fellowship. You can C4C, pesetas, like you just keep going, And I guess by the grace of God, we were just surviving. Although, like the married people at Collective EG were also in our space, so that helped. But eventually, when he said yes for us to go the first time, he said it's like that had him for publicity for the fellowship, because every couple that he would find be like, "Are you part of it?" And now he's like so much for it. But it's really helpful, like, because like you've said, you're not the first to go through these things. You won't be the last. Other people have gone before you. They have found solutions, and there's no reason for you to suffer. Yet someone can just share how they did the thing, and it's just a breath of fresh air to go somewhere and realize, hey, we're all in this. We're all going through this thing. Even you. It's nice. Like, it gives some sort of encouragement, but also there are things people have gone through that maybe you don't have to go through. And in them sharing, you're ahead of that situation because you know how it can turn out. So it also having people to pray with you and for you. I think it has helped with our accountability. I know that if for some reason I needed to report him somewhere, I know exactly who to go to. And even him, he knows who to call. I will trust that those people, those guys will keep him in line. They'll talk to him and he'll come back and he has organized himself. It really helps. And for accountability, at least. Like, even if maybe there are things I haven't noticed, and for them they have, and they're able to hear you played. You're not doing great here. So it helps. I don't think you can do marriage alone.
Yeah.
You may try, but you may not thrive properly.
Yeah.
You made it,
but
you may be
you,
But
limping.
Yeah.
you limp through it. And
Yeah.
God didn't design marriage to be done in isolation. He designed it for community. And so the like she said, the resistance I had is because of, again, my background, things that continuously need to be unlearned. And so for me, experiencing that space and experiencing how people can exist together and talk about very weird things in marriage. People talk about very funny things in marriage couples, fellowships.
So open.
So open.
Yes.
And I like that. Like I admire the openness of the space and just the safety that it brought. And so for me, that was very quickly something that I would want to be part of all the time, because I allowed my heart to unlearn the preconceived stuff that I had about it. And so, yeah, it was an easy decision for me to want to be part of that space. And it has benefited us. We have, like she said, we have people to keep us accountable. It allows us to share our things in a space that is safe, where we won't be judged, and also on top of that gives us the opportunity to disciple young couples, because that particular space we're in has people who have been married like a year, a couple of months. And so for us who have been married 4 years, of course we're not veterans, but there are certain things we have seen that they may have not seen. So it gives us the opportunity to disciple young couples and help them through some of the challenges they might be going through, while also receiving help from people who have been there longer than us. So it's an amazing space, and I would recommend it to anyone who is,
I always tell people, please don't do life alone.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the best thing for me also that has happened to us.
Yeah.
Just my husband getting to hear other men, you're like, hey, also you, the men don't overshare, but at least you.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, you don't get it. So please, if you're not in, some sort of community, marriage fellowship, please find. And people online say, but where can I find? If they told you there was gold somewhere, you would
Yeah,
please,
I think most churches have like marriage fellowship.
Not much away.
Okay.
I keep saying we're actually, what's the word? We are lucky, being in that space where it's, it's open, it's normal, like fellowship is around. No, not many people actually have the opportunity, but find your local church and see if they have some marriage, or maybe you
Create one. Yeah, we have a friend group we created, like just 3 other married couples, and we just created that space.
Yeah.
We go to different churches, but we created that space and meet once a month and just do life. It's create it. Like if you can find one.
You can, please find a way. Okay, so as we come to the end, maybe share with us what advice would you give guys who are dating, excited about this marriage thing, some of the things you tell them, and then those who are newly married.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, you're looking at me to go first. What advice would I give? Well, I can only give advice from my experience.
Yeah.
And when Chris and I were starting to date seriously, we made sure to talk about all the fundamental stuff. Funny story, we both had lists. I don't know how I feel about the lists these days. Like, I'm kind of repenting from it, but that's how it was. Like, we had a list of things that were, preferable things that, we would kind of like, but then there were the things that were non-negotiable. Like, what would I expect from someone who is going to walk this life journey with me till death do us part? For us, that person had to be a Christian. Like, you have to believe in Jesus. And for the Christians watching, I think that should be the first thing that you guys talk about. Because it's very easy these days, like, to call yourself a Christian. Let's just say that. It's easy to call yourself a Christian, but not, be committed to walking it out as purposefully as we should. If that was an issue for us, then we'd find issues in our marriage about committing to a ministry or the 9-to-5 thing that I had mentioned. And so for us, that was a key conversation we had at first. And then after that, it was now just things that could cause issues down the road in the marriage journey, like number of kids. That could be one of the things you talk about, like how many kids do you want? Just put it out there. It's not a deal breaker. It's because life changes as you move. But it's definitely a conversation that you should have at the beginning, and that's something that we had as well. And then with the rest of the things, like where are we going to live, what kind of schools will our kids go to, those are some of the things that can come afterwards. But for me, the key thing was about faith, and everything else flows from faith. So I find it hard to find very specific big things that can exist that are not rooted in what we believe, because it informs every decision you make. It informs all the things you do in life. And so for me, when that conversation is had constantly and without hiding, like have it in a very vivid way, I feel like as those conversations happen, you'll be slowly making a decision whether this is someone that I can do life with or not. So yeah, that's...
I think to add to his, as you talk, okay, this is going to sound very doomsday-ish, but especially this is for people who are dating. As you talk about these things, if you notice something that you are genuinely not comfortable with, especially because marriage is a forever thing, you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person, I think allow yourself, give yourself permission to exit, or at least to pause. I know there's a certain pressure that comes with like marriage. Like, you want to get married. Maybe most of your friends are getting married, or you feel like this is the age. I think that don't make a rash decision. Like a forever decision is not one to make very quickly like that. Like I keep saying, better a broken relationship than a broken marriage. So take your time. If you're a Christian and in your relationship you feel like God will not be very happy about this relationship, or this doesn't seem like something God would approve of, it's okay to walk out. Walk out, and God will bring you someone who is the perfect match for you. And for those who are newlyweds, he said have conversations. Don't stop having conversations. Keep talking, communicate. To build a relationship with God together. It helps you bond in learning and growing, but Jesus is the best thing that you can do for your marriage. So grow together, work at growing together in faith, in your faith, in your relationship with Jesus. I think it will sort of other things as you grow.
I'd also like to speak into, like, for people who may have found themselves like one thing led to another, and now you either have a child or there's a certain thing tying you to an individual that you are now considering to marry because of that circumstance. Like Kristen said, even in that situation, if you feel that it's going to be more of a detriment than a benefit to your family to go along with a marriage, just feel free to cut it out. Because it's you can get into marriage for the wrong reasons, because of loneliness, because of the desire to be a family, because of brokenness that you're from. All these are wrong reasons to get into a marriage, and if you lead with those, you're preparing your coffin for your marriage already. And so just let the basis of your faith as a Christian, like I'm speaking to Christians now, let the basis of your faith be the foundation on which you build your marriage on, or your desire for a marriage from, and let it be the only thing you build it on, because everything else is built on that foundation, not the desires that we have for wholeness in a family, or loneliness, or all these other things that the world has put on us. So that's just for guys who may find themselves in that situation, to just have the courage and the license to just, to leave if it's not making sense.
Especially parents who force their kids to just because
there's a kid.
Now it's the best thing. Banangi. After they leave you in that thing alone,
you be there alone. They won't be there with you. They're struggling.
One mistake has happened. Okay. Let's see.
A second mistake won't fix it.
Because I keep saying, of course, the person you choose can just alter your whole life. Can be either best decision or worst decision.
True.
So we don't have to take that thing lightly, that decision lightly. And thankfully for you guys, if you're following me, you're seeing this, I created a Christian dating guide.
Come on.
Yeah, to help you on that journey. You know, what kind of questions, you know, are you going to ask? How do you get like self-aware for yourself or the person you're seeing? How do you date right, a Christian way, to possibly, you know, help you at least make that decision easier as you pray to God and have a community. So please get the dating guide on my website. I'll put the link in the description, and it will make things so much easier. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
A breath of fresh air. I love love, so I love it. I love it. You know, so I wish you all the best. Many more years to come.
Thank you. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Lisa Kusima, as always. I'm here to